have a mild to severe perhaps, obsession with notebooks. I am super happy to see a revival of note-taking. Well, at least here on YouTube. I absolutely love watching other people's similar videos. I thought today I would jump in and create my own version. Over the years, my note-taking has definitely changed. I guess it's a little bit like with reading. You switch things up and you move on as a reader. Same with taking notes. But I do feel like, having done this for years, I have now cracked it, and I actually have a very simple and sustainable system. Well, simple for someone who has 4 notebooks. Let's jump right in. This first notebook is my little Bible because I carry it with me everywhere, and I have tried different ways, but I found this is the way that works best for me. So rule number 1 is I have to keep my notebook fairly light, because otherwise, if it's too heavy, if it's too bulky, I know I will look at it and I will be put off from putting it in my handbag. This one is my top favorite for this sort of purpose. This is Moleskine soft cover version. It is light. I love it that it's got this rubber band that keeps it together, because when you carry your notebook with you, you don't want it to open. And the reason why this is my little Bible is because I have everything here. So I have 4 tabs. The first tab is personal, second tab is work, third one is my YouTube stuff, and fourth one is projects, which I will talk about in a minute. Now, just to clarify, this notebook is mainly for tasks. However, I do jot down certain ideas as well. If I think of something, let's say it's an idea for a YouTube video, this is where it will go, under the videos section. And the way I write my to-do list, I keep it very, very simple. So I will just put the date. This is interesting to see actually, because I started this in November last year. So it tells you how long it's lasted me. I am about to finish this notebook, so I will have to set up a new one. By the way, my new notebook won't be Moleskine, because even though I do love it, and this is my perfect notebook, lots of people prefer the other brand. It's a very long name starting with L. But my new notebook I have already purchased. It is this one. It is non-branded. I picked it up at TK Maxx. It was very reasonably priced, and it's super light. I mean, Moleskine can be priced as high as £20 here in the UK, which is a lot of money for a notebook. And this one cost me £3.99. It's not as good, but it's actually even lighter than Moleskine, so it will do. And I know I need something super light because I'll be going away, and I want to make sure that I am taking my notebook with me when I'm traveling. So in terms of my tasks, I just start fresh every single day, and if there's something that I didn't complete the day before, I will just carry over that task onto the next day and I will write it again. I also like to have somewhere in the middle where I will put like a little tab like this one, and this is really useful for personal stuff where I have some little bit bigger tasks that I know I'm not going to complete over one single day in the nearest future, but I do need to remember to do them, and this is where I would keep them. And then I've got work. Now with this one, it is only because I work part-time now that I am able to keep all my notes in here. When I was in the city in the corporate job, I had a separate notebook for work because there was just so much to write down, and the way I would keep it would be on one side I would make my regular notes, and then on the back of the notebook, this is where I would start a new section, if you like, with the meeting notes. But for now, I can keep it here. Of course, you can skip it if you have a separate work notebook. In my video section, I will sometimes outline my videos. I also have here, for example, very detailed notes on how to operate my camera. And also this is where I will jot down some interesting titles that I want to add to my TBR. I have a separate notebook all about books. I'll show it to you in a minute, but that's pretty much it, except for the last tab which is called Projects. This is a separate tab for more of unusual things. Like, for example, I have a list here of what to pack for our skiing trip, which we did back in February. I also have a Christmas list. Oh, I also have here a list of what I need to do for my volunteering work, because I am a trustee for a local Scouts charity. This is my very much loved and used every single day notebook. Like I said, it's very light. And actually, let me bring my handbag to show you. This is my favorite handbag that I own. It is the only designer handbag that I have by DeMellier, London. Actually, I don't know if it's designer. It was about £300 when I bought it. To me, that's a lot of money for a handbag. I don't have any other handbag for which I paid £300, but I absolutely love it. You may have seen it on some other videos that I did. Yes, I think I was wearing it when I did the British Library tour, but this is the handbag. I love, love, love it. This is the smooth leather version. You may want to consider the other version, because I have noticed that on this one you can see scratches. I mean, it's fine, you know, I have had it for 2 years now, so, but I'm digressing. So, look at this, Moleskine. Voila! It is relatively small handbag, but still you can fit in Moleskine in there. And this is why I've been using Moleskine notebooks. I do hope that my new green notebook will fit in there as well. Actually, let's just test it out. The moment of truth. Phew, it has gone in. The second notebook I wanted to show you is my reading journal. I, again, love this notebook. It is a little bit bigger because the way I make notes about books, let me show you. Okay, this is a good example. These are my notes from reading The Grapes of Wrath. So I need my notebook about books to be a little bit bigger, because I will start making notes, but then I will want to add something to the previous point. So I need extra space in the margins, and this is why I need the page to be slightly bigger. There's another one, good example here, where I wrote about Crooked Seeds by Karen Jennings, and you can see in the margins I keep adding things. In the front, I have a list of all the books I read with the pages where the notes are. And then I will do a close-up of this. But here in the margin, I also make a little note which month I read them. And this makes it very easy for me, for example, to see which books were read when. And also it makes it very easy when I do my monthly wrap-ups. And then on individual pages, I have a title, author, I have a month and a year when I've read it, and I also have the format of the book. So for example, if it was a paper book, I'll put paper. If it was an audiobook, I'll put audio. Sometimes it's a mix, and I will then put audio/paper, or if it's a Kindle, I'll put down Kindle. And that's really it. On some of the books, I have very short notes. I don't have a very rigid criteria that I've set out for myself in terms of these notes, because for me the most important thing is just to make it sustainable and to make sure that I want to continue to do it. And on some books I have 3 pages of notes, and to some other books I have only dedicated a couple of lines. One other thing to mention is that at the end of the book, I have printed my TBR lists that I have created for myself in the beginning of the year. Again, I'm not very religious about my TBR because I'm a mood reader and I want to enjoy my reading, so I get derailed all the time. But from time to time, it's good to go back and refer to it to see whether I'm in the mood to read something that is on my original TBR. Oh, and on very few, 2 or 3 books where I have, for whatever reason, typed out the notes, I would print them off and just slot them onto the page to save me from writing, because this would be a very, very long writing process, but I much prefer to write it by hand rather than to type. This one happens to be on the trilogy by Deborah Levy, and I had a lot to say here. Oh, top tip, if you do that, if you print a page and then you want to put it inside your notebook, don't use a glue. The problem with using the glue is that you won't be able to write on the other side of the same page, or at least it will be very difficult. Instead, just use the sellotape. So yes, I really enjoy using this book, and because I bought this notebook from TK Maxx, again, it was very reasonably priced. I think it was like £6. It is not A4, by the way. It sits in between the sizes. I immediately purchased exactly same notebook but in brown color for when I run out of pages in this one, because I know I will. So I'm well prepared. The next two notebooks I don't use nowhere near as often, but they are important. So this first one, I had this for quite a few years. Actually, the first date I just looked up, I have in there, it's from 2022. So this notebook has 3 years. Again, purchased from TK Maxx. You can see a bit of a pattern there. I love TK Maxx and I love finding things in there. Let me know if you can relate. I guess in North America, the equivalent of TK Maxx is Winners or TJ Maxx. This notebook is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. It's made in Italy. It's got this golden, so soft to touch inside cover. Like I said, the paper is super thick, beautiful, creamy with a golden spine. So this is more of my, I guess I could call it a reflection notebook, because again, I have tabs. I have my sort of goals for the year, and I call it Paulina Maria 2.0, but that was probably more relevant when I was still in my corporate job. I probably need to rename it now. And I keep this very, very simple. I used to keep pictures, but now I have just this sort of tree that has my priorities for the year and a key theme that I want to set for myself. So for this year, this word is simplicity, because I wanted to make sure that I simplify my life. And then I have a section on family. I have a section on leisure, home, work, finance, health, just as a bit of a reminder, because we, I guess, tend to get lost in everyday little tasks, and it's very easy to lose the bigger picture, which, you know, I do all the time, and this helps me stay on track a little bit better. Then I have another section on gratitude. I keep it very simple. It's literally 3 lines per day, because I know if it was anything more than that, I probably wouldn't continue to do it. And again, I'm not super religious to do this every day. I know it's a good thing to do this every day, but I tend to reach for it when I feel a bit off, and it really helps. And then I've got another tab, which is a focus tab, where I have prompts that help me to reshift my focus. So for example, I will state how I want to feel, or what were my yesterday's wins, for example, or what it is that I actually need to do to achieve my overall goal, as opposed to fill in the time with all kinds of other tasks that tend to hijack our lives. And sometimes I will also put down here the name of a person I want to reach out to that maybe I haven't talked to for a while, which actually it works really, really well to have that prompt. And then tab number 4 is journaling. This is a fairly new tab, because I'm not the type of person who has been journaling for ages and ages and ages. I am dabbing at it now, I can tell you. I struggled at first. Let me know if you had the same experience. It is the weirdest thing to just sit down and start writing anything that you can think of. It reminds me a little bit of the experience of going in front of camera. It feels very strange and very self-conscious. So I think you just need to practice it. Anyway, to help me with it, again, I have printed off some prompts, and at the moment I'm only doing journaling. If I have a decision to make and I can't make that decision, this really helps. But ideally I do want to get to the point where I do journal every single day. If you doing that, let me know how you got there. And then my final tab here is self-care. This is probably the most neglected tab. I should be much better at this, but I have, with very good intentions, printed this calendar. Oh, actually, no, this is the old calendar for 2024. My intention was to basically schedule things like a massage. I can tell you that's not happening at all. Or a facial, that's also not happening. My best self-care is being by myself and reading a book. So I think I need to change that tab. Maybe instead I'll record times where I had a chance for 100% uninterrupted reading, or maybe that should go in my reading journal. But yes, at the moment, not very much used tab. But overall, quite a useful little notebook. I still have lots of pages left in there, so I don't need to think about getting a replacement. And then my final notebook is this little notebook I purchased quite a few years ago when I was in France skiing. It was a work trip. I used to work for this company. We had the most generous and wonderful boss, and he took all of us skiing for the whole weekend to Chamonix. And actually this is where I learned how to ski. This is where I had my first lessons. So anyway, I remember buying this notebook because it's a very unusual notebook, and I'm so happy I still have it. I kept it solely for notes on books that are personal development books. I personally don't like that word self-help. I much more prefer upskilling or personal development, because self-help has gained a bit of a negative connotation, and I totally agree. If you're the type of person who only reads self-help books, then, that may not give you the most diversified view of the world. But if you are reading a wide range of books and from time to time you will read something that is teaching you about something in a very direct way, then I think that's absolutely fine. And the other reason why self-help books get a lot of bad rep is because people are saying, well, I've read this book and nothing has changed for me. Of course, you actually have to make the changes yourself, and you have to action the lessons that you have learned. And so this notebook is for me to write down key lessons from the best non-fiction books that I have read that are these type of self-help books. And out of all the books that I've read, which is probably over 100, there are just a handful that I just keep going back to. So here I would put the title and then sort of the key lessons. If there is a good quote, I will also write that down. Actually, looking at this, I also have here notes on a conversation I had with a very senior executive who gave me at the time very valuable advice on how to progress in my career. So yes, this is probably the least used notebook at the moment. And I wanted to wrap this video talking about pens. Everyone, of course, has their preferences, and I have mine. I have now landed on my two favorite pens, and these are both from Pentel. These are permanent gel ink Energel, and one is thicker, one is thinner. This one is 0.5 and this one is 0.7 millimeters. For writing about books, I always use only this one. This thicker one I like to use for writing, for example, birthday cards and addressing envelopes, just because it's thicker, so it's that little bit more impactful. I also love using fountain pens, and I have had a few, but I have just had such a bad luck with fountain pens because I don't know what happens every time I use a fountain pen. In the beginning, everything is great, and then at some point after I've put it away and I open it up to write on paper, it's completely dry. I don't know why. It's very, very frustrating. And yes, it kind of works again if I take it under the tab and uninstall the whole thing, take it apart and run water through it, but it's just absolutely not practical to be using it. If you have a tip, or if there's something obvious I'm missing about these fountain pens, please let me know. So yes, for now I have these two Pentel pens as my favorite. I always stock up. I buy 20 of these because I can't run out. If you are also a notebook nerd like I am, I would genuinely love to hear from you how you use your notebooks, and also if this video resonated with you. There's something really comforting knowing that we're not alone with our habits. Thank you so much for spending this little moment with me, and I'll see you in my next video.